to this lovely event. I'm Leela from Wit Regatta. I think many of you have seen me by now. So now it's my turn in the host chair and to welcome everyone. Okay, so I'm very excited for this Job Expo event with Airbnb. It's been so much fun to work with this wonderful team from Airbnb as they were setting up this event, and so much work was put into creating this event and this panel for all our attendees to learn more about belonging at Airbnb. A couple of housekeeping notes. I will be dropping in the chat our recording disclaimer. Also a reminder, this is a harassment-free zone, so please keep that in mind as you go into this event. Also, we would like to thank the stewards of our land. I will be dropping into the chat some information about that, and also a link for you to discover where are you located and what is your native land, so you know the original stewards of your land. A couple of notes for this Job Expo event. The Airbnb team won't be monitoring the chat till the Q&A portion, so please hold back your questions till we get to the Q&A portion. Also, please don't drop resumes in the file chat share function in Zoom. We'll be discussing resumes a little bit later on. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Desmond from Airbnb. Desmond, take it over.
Yeah, thank you, Leela. My name is Desmond Murray. I'm a recruiter here at Airbnb. I've been with the company for a little over 2.5 years, and I've been recruiting for a little over 9 years. I'm joined by my colleague and recruiting partner, Megan Rucker. Megan?
Hello, yes, thanks, Desmond. My name is Megan Rucker. I've been recruiting for over 7 years and been with Airbnb the last 2.5.
Thank you, Megan. In this panel discussion, our panelists of talented engineering leaders will highlight their journeys to and within Airbnb and the personal and professional impacts the company and product has had on them. In this 1-hour session, you'll all get a glimpse into the working lives of Airbnb employees and the roles we're currently hiring for, followed by a Q&A session at the end. The theme of this discussion is belonging at Airbnb. Our mission is to create a world where anyone can belong anywhere. It's an audacious and incredibly rewarding mission that our increasingly diverse team is dedicated to achieving, and one that aligns with our personal values as well.
Yes, very true. Airbnb is incredibly mission-driven and values-focused. So our mission of creating a world where anyone can belong anywhere is probably the single most important part about working for Airbnb. Of course, we want to hire the strongest talent in the market, but we're more so interested that everyone who works here is just as motivated by this mission as the person sitting next to them. I feel super proud to work at a company that prioritizes this above all, especially today more than ever. And personally, in 2019 and 2020, I was undergoing some pretty serious health problems that required me to have a different work schedule. My team had my back 100%, allowing me the opportunity to take the time I needed, always made me feel supported with care packages, kind words, and a lot more. I've just never seen a company who is this serious about a mission and integrating that into every day. Des, you can speak to my journey firsthand as my teammate. So why don't you share what belonging means to you?
Yeah, thanks, Megan. Belonging to me means to be accepted and appreciated for who you are and what you represent. Being encouraged to share your perspective and being heard when you do. Up next, you'll be hearing from the following panelists who will not only touch on their journeys to and within Airbnb, but also how our mission has impacted that journey. You'll be speaking with the following panelists: Brenda Ramakrishnan and Karen Kim from Trust, Jenny Chen from Homes Platform, Amelia Good from Community Support, Rachel Zhao from Guest Experiences, and Jen Dolson from Marketplace Dynamics. So without further ado, Brenda and Karen, take it away.
Thanks, Desmond. I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen? Cool. Hey, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here, and a huge thank you to the conference organizers. My name is Brenda Ramakrishnan. My pronouns are she, her. I live in the Bay Area with my family. So I'm born in the 70s, and I have a 17-year-old born and growing up in the digital era. Right? I've been in the tech industry for over 20 years now. I started at Airbnb right when the pandemic started last year, and I was fortunate enough to meet at least some of my colleagues in person. I had a chance to experience the beautiful offices in San Francisco and food in the campus for a couple of weeks before the lockdown started. I'm a senior engineering manager in the trust organization, and I lead the safety product and crisis engineering teams. I'm passionate about diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and I'm championing these efforts at Airbnb. So a little bit about my background and work experience. In one slide, I'm going to try and cover my 25 years of career journey. First, I grew up in India. I come from an economically disadvantaged background, and I had a lot of cultural and social barriers to break through to get to where I am today. I started as a web developer, progressed fast in the first few years of my career until I moved to the US, and then recession hit in 2000. I joined Borland in its heydays, worked with amazing leaders and wonderful people there. I got married, had our first and only child, lots of learnings as a new parent, and a lot of happy times. Then became an EM. I had the opportunity to build teams in other countries, relocated a bunch of times. I worked in various domains and companies of all sizes. I've been an EM for over a decade now. So like any other Gen X people here, I belong in the sandwich generation, right? Having to care for my child as well as my elderly parents. So I've been through burnout, health issues, surgery a couple of years ago. I had to take career break to recharge, just to sustain in my career, right? So now I'm here at Airbnb. Belonging to me is being able to bring your whole authentic self to work. So I've been here for a year now, but when I started last year, it was new everything for me. So new company, new role, new people, new domain, and then pandemic hit. And I had to do everything virtually, right? Like any other company in the hospitality industry, Airbnb was hit hard by the pandemic and we had layoffs. Airbnb as a business responded and came out with flying colors. But for me, I had a personal crisis during pandemic. It was one of the hardest times in my life. For me personally, Airbnb as a company that values human connections and belonging also came through to support me during my crisis. I was able to take some time off despite being new in the company, a new leader in the company. And I feel blessed to have had that opportunity to take care of the crisis in the family. So now we are in 2021, off to a good start. I'm looking forward to not just survive, but thrive this year, right? And we are recovering gradually from the pandemic and expecting travel to rebound soon. So now let's take a look at what my team does. Airbnb is built on the foundation of trust and is designed with safety in mind. So what helps make Airbnb hugely successful is the amazing work that my team does to detect, deter, and defend our platform against safety incidents. To name a few safety risks that my team works hard to prevent are any kind of harassment, sexual assault, physical assault, discrimination, property damage, or any unsafe parties, and so on. So safety at Airbnb happens in 3 stages along the user journey: deter, diagnose, and defend. So deter incidents before they happen, diagnose them quickly when they do happen, and defend, compassionately respond to safety incidents at scale. My team focuses specifically on the first pillar, which is the deterrence. And while we partner closely with community support on the other 2 pillars, which is diagnose and defend. So what makes solving this problem so hard? Predicting human behavior in any circumstances in the real world is hard, right? Many of the personal safety incidents are hard to detect before they occur. And we also want to be carefully choosing our solutions to avoid any discrimination and impact to good users. So our goal is to build a scalable and intelligent safety platform that can detect and deter potential incidents at all stages of the user journey. So safety team has been hiring, and we've already expanded our team to more than double the size early this year. We are a diverse team of about 16 engineers and are still growing. We have a few more roles to fill, and are looking for strong backend ML engineers and data scientists. So I'm going to pass it to Karen now, who's going to share her story and then talk about her team, which is Trust Platform Engineering. Up to you, Karen.
Thank you, Vrinda. Hi, everyone. My name is Karen, and I'm an engineering manager at Airbnb on Trust. I currently lead tech foundations and data engineering teams where we build foundational systems and data models to enable detection and mitigation of fraud at scale. We provide the infrastructure for other trust teams in order to protect Airbnb and our users. I joined Airbnb almost 7 years ago. From my experience, internal mobility has been invaluable in providing the opportunities for employees to work on new challenges and also grow in different domains. If your company offers this, please make sure you take advantage of trying out new teams. It will not only help you to gain experience, but you also don't have to switch companies to gain this experience. For me personally, I like to optimize for learning broadly, which means I tend to prefer trying out new things and gaining experience and skills over becoming a deep expert in a specific domain. Next slide, please. I initially joined Airbnb as a full stack engineer on the payments team, dabbling in Android development where possible. While I got to build new features and improve my mobile and full stack development skills, I started gravitating more towards infrastructure, a world that was deeply known to me. What was audit trail? What does idempotency mean? And why does any of this matter? I remember feeling, I was working on a bunch of migration projects without a clear understanding of why this was considered infrastructure. But little did I know that migrations are unavoidable as part of the infrastructure teams. I started learning more about the payments infrastructure domain, gaining valuable firsthand experience. I also got to build features that had direct impact on our business continuity, and was also fortunate to work with a strong team with technical role models. I quickly learned from others and became one of the few technical domain experts on payments as the company was growing quickly. I knew I could keep doing similar work on payments, gain more responsibilities and scope, and it was a safer path for me. However, this didn't excite me, and I was itching to try something new within Airbnb. Next slide, please. When I found out about the guest services team working on building a platform for third-party services, such as restaurant bookings, I became really excited about the potential of this new product. I joined the team shortly after, and we worked tirelessly for the public launch. And while things looked great initially, they quickly turned south when our product couldn't gain traction over the next year, despite numerous experiments and features aimed towards gaining traction and adoption. This turned out to be an important lesson for me in my career. While it's important to be passionate about the domain and the problem space, it is equally important that the product is viable and adds value to the business. And as a team completely pivoted its strategy, I chose to try out something new, Trust. I had heard great things about the culture, and their engineers seemed very passionate about this space. And to add to this, I knew I wanted to become a manager and felt it was really important for me to learn directly from a mentor who's a leader on Trust. I joined the Trust and shortly became an engineering manager for the Trust platform team. I was drawn to the work of the platform teams, where most of the customers are actually within the company, and I can collaborate with them directly to help solve their problems. Also, my exposure on the guest services team turned out to be an invaluable management experience. I got to experience firsthand how individuals can be empowered and also how to discern signs of a low team morale. Furthermore, my payments infrastructure experience has helped me to build the technical foundation that was necessary to lead and scale infrastructure teams. These experiences made me a more capable engineering manager and allow me to quickly grow and take on more responsibilities. Today, I currently support teams across Trust Platform, authorization, authentication infrastructure, and data engineering. I feel incredibly fortunate to work alongside passionate and talented engineers to work on a very challenging industry-wide problem, which is tackling fraud at scale in a double-sided marketplace where our bad actors can exploit our product both as a guest and a host. Next slide, please. As we recover from the pandemic, we're getting ready for the travel rebound of the century. And to prepare for this, we're hiring many roles across Trust to ensure that we can quickly respond to fraud attacks and keep our users safe. Our goal is to scale detection and mitigation across all types of fraud and safety incidents. And we do this by providing the platform to quickly build and deploy defenses. Some of our products include the rules engine, the friction and backtesting framework, and we work closely across Trust while also partnering with hosting, payments, and customer support. Our team is growing quickly and we're hiring for many roles across trust. So please check out our career page for more details. And now I hand this over back to our moderator.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. We're going to keep the train going, and I believe next up is Amelia Good.
So hello, everyone. I'm Amelia Good. I'm the engineering manager for the channels team, part of the community support platform. So community support platform builds the tools for our global workforce of support ambassadors, basically customer service agents around the world who help our community, that's both guests and hosts, have the smoothest possible experience with Airbnb. We are building the world's most loyal travel community through exceptional service. My team in particular is the channels team. We build the communication channels between our customers and our ambassadors. So we have a phone channel, a messaging channel, an email channel, and my team is also responsible for the routing of these contacts. So when you're contacting Airbnb, be it that you need to reset your password or you can't get in touch with your host, making sure that you're getting to the ambassador with the right skills to help you with your problem. But before I go more into about community support platform, I want to tell a little bit about my journey to Airbnb. So I've been in the software industry for about 10 years. I started out in San Francisco, first with Twitter, and then with a smaller startup called Trifacto, working on a data preparation tool. Then I moved to Portland, where I joined Airbnb about 2.5 years ago, first as an IC, a software engineer on the channels team, and now as a manager. And then last year, the team in Portland was relocated as a result of COVID to Seattle. And that's how I come to be at the Seattle Women in Tech Regatta today. So now I'm going to tell a little bit about the story of my transition to management, because I feel like it really embodies this quote, sometimes attributed to Winston Churchill, of never letting a good crisis go to waste. So back in March of 2020, the plan was that I would be the interim engineering manager for the channels team. My manager was going to take a 3-month leave. I had previously let him know that I was interested in the manager track, which actually sort of gave him the ability to sort of take this leave that he'd been wanting to take. So it was really the perfect synergy. Side note, if you are interested in a specific career track, definitely do let your mentors, your managers, let them know that these are your aspirations, because they may be able to help you more than you'd expect. So that was the plan. We had some nice projects lined up for my team to do. We were going to build a live chat widget that would follow you around Airbnb. We were going to use some dynamic routing thresholds to route you to a higher skilled agent when volume was low. Really nice teed up projects, just what you'd want as an entry-level manager. You might notice, though, the timing here. March 11th, 2020 was when the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. So this was right as the manager of the former manager of the channels team was going on his leave. I was taking on management, and the pandemic was really starting to rage around the world. And it had a particular impact on the travel industry. And Airbnb, as a travel company, it impacted our community support especially. So everybody was canceling their travel around the world. So this influx of cancellations resulted in an influx of community support contacts, cancellations, cancellation policies. Sometimes these are things that customers need help with. In addition to that, we were implementing an extenuating circumstances policy to try to come up with the most fair policies to deal with all of these cancellations. But it was a pretty fast changing situation, and understandably, sometimes our guests needed and hosts needed help understanding this. So even more volume to community support. All of this resulted in basically the highest volume that Airbnb customer support had ever seen. On top of this, our global call centers were shutting down. As the world went into lockdown to try to control the expansion of the virus, our call centers had to send all of their workers home. And a lot of these workers didn't necessarily have the ability to work from home. They didn't have a stable internet connection. They didn't have the phones that they need to be able to support. So our workforce was cut in half. So this unprecedented demand for community support coinciding with the surprise drop in supply resulted in the perfect storm for community support. Both our technical and operational systems were being tested to the breaking point. Any projects that we had planned, we had to drop them. We had to shift our priorities super quickly. Our services and systems were putting to a stress test. We had much higher load than we'd ever had in the past. Also, we were transitioning to remote work all at the same time, not just our global ambassadors, but the product team in Portland as well. And finally, as you might imagine, this did cause some technical incidents, so there were some late nights firefighting. But instead of crumbling under all of these challenges, our team was really able to make lemonade out of lemons. This shifting priorities made our team much more adaptable and flexible, such that we're now able to kind of work more closely together and take on any challenges as they come. The stress test allowed us to identify weaknesses in our system so we could improve our designs and build back stronger. And now, while working from home does have its drawbacks, it has taught us to be more intentional about both communication and scheduling, finding ways of working that work for every individual on our team. And finally, even the firefighting, while stressful in the moment, my team actually looks back on it a little bit fondly, recognizing the team building that comes from a shared sacrifice and working hard on something under pressure together. So how did all of this impact me? When the former manager of the channels team decided that the relocation to Seattle wasn't what he wanted for his family, I had the confidence, after going through all of these challenges to opportunities, to take on the leadership of the channels team full-time. And now we're re-energized and excited to take on anything else that the world has to throw at us. We are looking forward to this travel rebound this summer, already starting now in spring. The community support platform team, partially as a result of many of the things we learned during the pandemic, we're taking on some really exciting projects. We are platformizing our ambassador-facing tools. So feature teams throughout Airbnb can build functionality they need, or they can build the functionality that ambassadors need directly into our CRM with minimal support from the CS platform team ourselves. We're building an automation platform that surfaces instant answers faster and empowers our community to solve their issues as efficiently as possible before needing help from a live ambassador. And finally, most relevant to my team, we're adopting an omni-channel platform, so that's all the channels together, that allows us to unify our issue routing, which sets us up better to be able to optimize our ambassador occupancy and generally improve our workforce planning. So to accomplish all of this, we are growing. We're hiring senior and staff software engineers, engineering managers, front-end, back-end, full stack, and machine learning engineers. So if you are interested, please do not hesitate to reach out. And I think now I will hand it off to Jenny.
All right. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. If I can full screen this. All right, so my name is Jenny, and I'm a senior engineering manager in the Homes platform team. I'm a mom of 2 small children. I actually took both of my maternity leaves working here at Airbnb. My background's full stack engineering, and I've been here over 5 years. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to once I get all my vaccines and we're out is eating hot pot in a restaurant with other people. So my path to Airbnb, I started working in the industry about over 15 years ago at AWS. And then about 5 years in, I left to co-found a startup with my college roommate. Moved back to the Bay Area. The startup was, profitable, but not like amazing. And so we decided to really try to find a home for the team. And that's when our investors got us connected with one of the companies, which was Airbnb. And so team got acquired in here, and I joined in 2015. And a few months after I joined as an IC engineer, I transitioned to be an eng manager. And so, this looks pretty linear of a progression. However, the reality of the way your career progresses and goes is actually probably more like a maze, right? Like sometimes you'll take, a path down this way, turns out not a great path, you might backtrack and go a different direction. And so what happened for me was a lot of different things that we tried out, worked, didn't work, and then you try to find another path. One of the things that really came to mind for me when we were asked to think about, what your belonging story is here at Airbnb was a few months after I joined and I'd started to transition to manager. It was, we were recruiting for our team, and I talked with a bunch of boot campers, And they were all really excited. I was really excited. Everyone's super engaged. But at the end of that boot camp, couple of weeks, exactly 0 engineers wanted to join my team. And that was really hard for me because I was thinking, like, one of the most important things you do as a manager is build your team, and I'm failing at this. And so I, had that moment when many of you probably had this, where you're sitting in the bathroom at work and you're like, oh, I'm probably going to cry now. And after that, I had a one-on-one with my manager, and when I, talked to her about, like, hey, here's what's going on, and she was actually really supportive. She helped me diagnose, what my process was in recruiting engineers, gave me some ideas, sent me to manager training, and I felt really supported in this process and kind of overall as I was going about and transitioning to being a manager. And for me, that's really what kind of highlights the way that Airbnb really helps you belong, right? Like, you're able to bring your whole self to work. Me having to take a couple of maternity leaves for my children, being supported with training, with coworkers, and helping you grow and learn and really adapt a learning mindset, right? So that it's okay to try things and fail as long as you learn from them and grow. And so that's what's really important to me. And one of the reasons why I'm still here at Airbnb as I've progressed in my career is that this is a great for me to grow and learn while providing impact to the business. So a couple of things about my role here at Airbnb. I feel like as a manager, you wear a lot of different hats, right? You're really listening to your team, to leadership, making sure you're setting the right strategy and supporting your team, figuring out the puzzle pieces of what projects we should work on, which people should work on which projects to feed into that strategy, and really make sure that teams are setting up to be successful and collaborating really well with each other. And I put the cupcakes at the end is also so that you can really help celebrate wins with your team and achievements. So my team is one of the teams in Homes platform, and we're a product platform team. And so what this means is not only do we build the products that hosts come to use, we also build some of the underlying platforms and core entities that support multiple teams here within Airbnb. So starting with like the foundation, that team's objective is to build things that are fast, scalable, and reliable and secure. And so we own some of the core entities here at Airbnb around reservations, listings, users. Pretty much these are mission critical services. If these do not go down, they should not go down. And all of the company depends on this. Upwards from that, we have more of application product framework teams where we're building platforms that allow multiple services and teams to build on top of that. And for example, a server-driven UI, right? We want to make sure that we have product and feature parity across iOS, Android, and web. And so we're building a framework that allows teams to be able to do that much more easily and create the paved path for product development here. And then at the highest end, we have our products. So my teams also manage the product surfaces that help hosts manage their reservations and their listings and their just how do they run their daily business and operations. So that being said, there's a lot that of scope on the team. Values that are really important that I've seen is to be very customer focused, whether your customer is a host or internal teams around the company, and to be data informed to make sure that we're really tackling the right problems at the right time. Skill sets that are really crucial for us right now at this point are iOS, Android, and full stack web. We're doing a lot of really interesting product and platform development, and these are some of the most urgent needs on our team. So with that, I'll hand it over to Rachel.
All right, I have to say this obligatory. Can you hear me and see my screen? Yes, to both. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Jenny, for handing off to me. My name is Rachel. I lead the search product engineering group at Airbnb. And today I want to talk about a little bit of my journey, especially at Airbnb, what we do and how we work as a group, and everyday belonging, because even the belonging is company mission, also how we identify our culture. But I think the culture needs to be reflected in how we do things on a daily basis. So I want to touch base a little bit on that. First, before my Airbnb journey, actually, I spent the past 9 to 10 years at Yelp, growing from IC to manager, having many different roles at the company. And prior to that, I did a total of 2 years, 6 internship at Amazon, Microsoft, worked at BlackBerry, and worked on some regional governments, building websites, and so on. So it's been a really great journey so far. And last September, I think August actually, Airbnb recruiter reached out to me, and I was really intrigued because Airbnb had this really high-profile layoff, and I read the CEO kind of newsletter when they came out, and I was really touched by the tone, the compassion. I think. A lot of time when a company is going through that low point, it speaks more about the company's culture and mission than when they are at the high point. And that's what eventually actually attracted me to Airbnb. Before that, I was an Airbnb host since 2012, and I was quite strapped for cash. I wanted to travel, so I rented out my living room to get some travel fund here. And then I was able to also travel by being an Airbnb guest. Actually, maybe send an emoji to the chat if you have been a guest on Airbnb here, so I can see. And this photo was last winter. I stayed at a farmhouse on Airbnb, and I had a tree. I was pretending to be a sloth there, and it was a great kind of urban escape sort of experience. I joined remotely last September, and Jenny actually was my mentor. New hire buddy, taught me everything I know about Airbnb. And we continue to work together on a lot of different initiatives today. And I probably, as the only person who is here that just joined remotely completely. I have never been to the office. I have not seen any of my teammates, anything. And I was really worried in the beginning, because how can you feel connected to your workplace? How can you make work not just transactional when you're joining remotely? But later I learned there are so many programs, so many things that the team does on a daily basis, like Slack question of the day, to know more about your teammates and things, small things like that. It really helps me feel very belong. I feel very connected with my team. And I lead the landing and search experience guest, which I'll talk a little bit more. And my passion area really is to build a delightful product and everyday belonging, which kind of landed me very well for my current role at Airbnb. So next we'll talk about what we do and how we work. So guest experience, thanks for all of you who raised your hand for being a guest on Airbnb. So we're responsible for that end-to-end guest journey on Airbnb. Imagine, you come to the homepage, you're looking for something, or you just look for getting inspired. So for example, we are doing a promotion for the Great Outdoors collection, unique architectures. You can stay in the nature. In my background, this is an illustration of, such collection that we're trying to inspire people for different type of inventory that we have. And then you go on to a search, and then you use the listing page to decide whether or not you want to book at this place. And after that, you have your on-trip experience, making sure you can check in smoothly, communicate with your host. So we're responsible for that whole, from before you even have the idea to book to you're on the trip, post-trip journey here at Airbnb. And there are a few principles that we operate on that I actually really, really appreciate, resonate really well with me. One is we want to focus on guest obsession. We want to be obsessing with guests rather than just success metrics and monetization. This is something, being in the industry, a lot of us for a while, you're so used to OKR driven, that metrics driven kind of approach. And seeing a company actually taking this as a principle, sometimes at odds with short-term metrics, is very refreshing to me. And second is we want to focus on journey as opposed to surfaces. As engineer, it's very easy for us to think, okay, like I own this screen or I'm responsible for this screen and that's all I care about, but that's not how guests think. And so as at work, we really want to focus on that end-to-end guest journey rather than a particular surface that a team owns here. And the third thing is innovation with verification. I mean, a lot of us are very used to A/B testing, very data-driven way of doing product development. We want to actually put that idea first and the verification next. We'll never want to have a kind of project to say, oh, we want to drive this metrics and therefore we want to do this project. It's always, this is something that's good for guests and we want to do this, but we want to verify that it actually is doing good for guests. And then finally, simplicity, and this is something I really appreciate from product perspective. You can put so many things on search. You can put so many things on home screen and everything to make it like a bulletin board, like a band-aid of everything. But I think the team leadership is really have a lot of principle and restrain from overwhelming people from that explosion of information, and instead opt for simplicity in product development and in the interface design here. So one example of a recent work is we try to adapt to the travel trend recently to allow more flexibility in travel. So imagine before a pandemic, what you're thinking probably is, okay, I want to go to New York from day A to day B. This is how I do my travel planning. And now with more flexibility with work, life, everything, you may be thinking, okay, I just want to, be somewhere 2 hours drive from where we are, sometime in March, April for a week. That has a pool. I can take my kids there and so on. And so we adapt our product to allow that level of flexibility and expression by, launching a flexible date search feature. And we're not stopping there. We're also increasing that flexibility into more dimensions in location, in property types, of cancellation policy, as well as payment. We want to, push that flexibility to the extreme. And on our day-to-day, how we work together, since we're a very user-facing team, there's a lot of different functions that work together. We have user research, PM, product design, engineering, data science, creative marketing, program management, and so on. So we work together more like a jazz band, less like a symphony. A lot of engineers, I think we think about software engineering as like this perfectly orchestrated symphony. Airbnb is not like that at all, but I like to think it's like we work with organized chaos, we feed off each other's, we have a lot of energy, and we work together as a team from kind of an idea to delivery here. To mention what we're looking for a lot of people, mobile engineers, front-end, back-end engineering managers, data scientists, basically the whole suite of engineering functions is what we're looking for to help build out the guest experience there. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about what is everyday belonging like for me. So there are kind of a few things on the community building front. These are the activities that we do on my team. So we have is quite regular wellness challenge on Slack where we say, okay, March, we have a theme, like well-being, taking care of yourself, because we're preparing for this travel surge of the century. There's a lot of deadlines, a lot of stress. How do you manage that anxiety and stress? So we start doing some Slack check-ins, challenges, everyone doing some sort of thing that is good for their mental health together. And that's a really fun and encouraging way, engaging way to make sure we have some mental space, wellness space for our engineers. And second thing is we take every small moment for celebration, echoing Jenny's cupcake situation there, not just birthdays, work anniversaries, but also we have this thing called Appreciation Friday, where we start a Slack thread every Friday to showcase, to express our appreciation for coworkers who helped us, who lend us a hand during the week. And we also have a monthly Women in Eng Lunch and Learn, where we have topics that's ranging from, sleep. We were discussing this book called Why We Sleep, very good book, highly recommend. We talk about habit building, what are some best practices and behaviors to build out habits. We also talk about, topics from minimalist to decluttering to and personal finance, and so on. And then finally, we have quite regular offsites via Airbnb experience. This is during the pandemic. A lot of we cannot do the regular offsites, but so we opt for more virtual offsites with Airbnb experience. My favorite has been this activity called Improv for a Good Cause, where everyone kind of jam together and do some improv practice together. And this is kind of the small things that's happening on my team, but company-wide, there are also a lot of programs that's supporting the well-being and that belonging here. Some of my favorite are we have these flexible well-being time off that you can request a few days a year that we can say, oh, I just want to have a walk in the garden this day, can totally use this time that is not counting towards your PTO. We also have so many wellness apps and resources that help people, finding either therapy or an app like Headspace and programs like that to help with wellness. We have a lot of women in tech communities. A lot of us here are a part of those women in tech communities where we not only do kind of community building together, but also talk about how do we actually promote diversity and belonging more as a company there. And then finally, I think top of line house benefits is really important, especially, as you have more family responsibilities, we have benefits for childcare support. We have a fertility kind of sponsorship program, which I really appreciate as well. I think these are a lot of things that the company is taking care of us so we can, not have worry about these things and can feel more at ease when we're working towards guest experience, host experience, customer support, and so on. And that is my my journey on.
Hey everyone, good morning. My name is Jen Dolson, and I support our Marketplace Dynamics group here at Airbnb. This group basically sits at the intersection of guest and host interests and looks across pricing, cancellation, fees and monetization, and tools for hosts and guests across these levers in our marketplace that we want to keep balanced, effective, and healthy. What you're seeing here is one of the ways our team got together remotely during COVID, which is our cooking Slack channel, where we were able to share some of our favorite dishes that we made ourselves. So this is Wayne's homemade pasta. Wayne is one of our product managers on the team. Before I dive in a little bit about my journey to Airbnb, I was an engineering manager at Facebook prior to joining. And my team actually had a similar structure where we owned kind of some end-to-end horizontals, but we were focused on delivering computer vision and image processing technology to apps like Instagram, Messenger, the Facebook app, and others in the Facebook company umbrella. And so I was really excited by the opportunity to join Airbnb on kind of a similar platform style team with a similar structure, but with a new domain of marketplace that I could learn a lot from my peers and a lot from my team members about, which has been definitely rewarding in the past 2.5 years. So kind of zooming in and visualizing what I talked about before, what is our team focused on? Pricing, cancellation, and fees are all key levers where you want to make sure that they are considered across both the host and the guest experience for consistency, to make sure that our marketplace is healthy. For example, with cancellation policies, Should they be very strict? Maybe that favors hosts. Should they be very flexible? Maybe that favors guests. What is the best spot to land on? What are the second order effects of making changes to these key levers? And as we're delivering these key levers, it's no good to define the perfect policy if it's not explained well. So how is that surfaced to guests? How is it surfaced to hosts? How do people actually internalize what they're getting into? Similarly for pricing, we look at legal compliance for pricing and how it's actually displayed very tactically, but we also look at tools for hosts to set their prices. How do we guide that process? What actual packages, promotions, discounts can they set? And how does that influence our marketplace? Similarly with fees and fee structure. So that leads to the setup of our team. In addition to these product levers, we also have the end-to-end vertical down to the product infrastructure layer, because we're also the team that's kind of making the most changes in this area, or understanding the end-to-end picture. And we also internally make sure that our company understands what's happening with the marketplace, whether that's working with the sales team or business intelligence on certain data products that talk about what's happening with supply and demand, what's happening with certain trade-offs that you can make, and how to inform product decisions across the company. So quickly running through some examples. Aspirationally, our teams on pricing want unbeatable, trustable guest prices with effortless, rewarding price management for hosts. And you can see you can do this through product changes on the host side on things like calendar. And then, how are we expressing discounts or pricing compliance? There are a lot of legal regulations, especially in Europe, about pricing. How are we expressing the actual price to the guest? Cancellation, as I mentioned before, we want to meet guest needs with flexibilities. We also look at other kind of effects around cancellation, like what happens if a host actually has to cancel for a guest, what actually happens with some other related policies, like guest side extenuating circumstances. How is cancellation surfaced in other products, maybe like a chat that hosts and guests are having. So this team has a broad sphere of expertise across the company. And in terms of monetization, we want to have fees that match the value of the services we provide. And this may vary. Who is paying the fee? Is it the guest? Is it the host? What is the structure? And so on. And how do we support that for a variety of the different types of hosts and guests in different segments in different parts of the world? And finally, as I mentioned, we have a full vertical down to product infrastructure. And so some of our focus is around really enabling all of the pricing, policies, availability, calendar, fees, fee structure, and so on to be surfaced both to product surfaces we own, and then also intersect across the company with everyone who needs this information efficiently. Finally, I mentioned that we also have a very internal facing part of our team. This is a central location where other teams can go to understand what's happening in the marketplace data, figuring out what's happening with supply and demand, where are things growing, where do we need to collaborate with teams like sales, and how do we have consistent centralized insights so people are using the same metrics to have different conversations. So that is our quick run through and a quick overview of my journey. I'll turn it back over to our host. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jen. We have about 5 minutes left. I know it was supposed to be 15. It never really times out the way that we practice, but want to turn it over to the audience for any questions that you have for myself, Megan, or the speakers. You can ask your question in the chat function or leverage the hand raising function and we'll call on you. So feel free, ask away.
Also, quickly to note, at 11, that's when the after party kind of starts. So if anyone has additional questions that haven't been gotten to, we can take that time as well for about 10-15 minutes at 11.
Sarah, look like you have a question regarding openings within the project management space. Within the PM space, we do have openings. Megan and I can definitely facilitate your resume and interests to our recruiting partners who support that function. So if you don't mind, connect with myself or Megan via LinkedIn, and we will go ahead and direct your interest accordingly.
It looks like next question, what's Airbnb's take on remote work post-pandemic? Anyone want to answer that? Or Des, do you feel want to take it away?
Sure. Yeah. It looks like that question is from Carrie. Thank you for the question, Carrie. Right now, our plan post-pandemic in terms of what the future of work looks like for us is a bit unclear. I know that our leadership team is looking to roll out comms to have a bit more clarity on what that'll look like, as there's a lot of uncertainty around what the future will look like in general for everyone. So we're kind of on pause and waiting on comms to be cascaded down.
Yeah, one thing they've shared with us is that this is a really important decision, right? And they want to make sure that this is, whatever is decided is something that supports the company for a long time, right? It's sustainable. It's not something you want to roll back. And so that's why they're being very diligent about taking time to really figure out, understand people's inputs and needs before rolling out a policy. So I appreciate leadership taking their time to do the due diligence. That's a lot of words on this.
It looks like next question about internships. So we did just get notified that they have finished intern and new grad hires at this time, but in 2022, they'll be rolling out a bunch of new roles. So just make sure to keep an eye on the website and you'll be all set. Any other questions or hand raisers?
All right, looks like we have a question from Sarah. Do you support remote work outside of the US? Unfortunately, Sarah, kind of in line with what was communicated by Jenny earlier in reference to the remote work question, there's still some clarity that is being ironed out. So TBD on that.
But I want to add, we do have prior examples of, especially for more senior positions, engineers outside of US.
I think Stephanie has a question about non-traditional roles.
Yes, that's a great question. We're definitely open to all different backgrounds and different journeys. It's not about just having a CS degree. It depends on a multitude of different factors, and it's kind of all encompassing. So, if there's something specifically that you are interested in, a certain track, and maybe you don't have the direct experience right now, that's something Des and I are more than happy to kind of connect with you with and just kind of figure out the best way to proceed in your individual case.
Yeah, we have the Apprentice Connect program, which was going on last year, and I think we're also doing it this year, right, Desmond? Where basically, people apply to get into the program. You go through training, and then you're actually embedded on a team doing, production work, whatever the team needs, for I think it was about 6 months or so. I might have the specific numbers a little off, but and then it converts into a full time. If all things go well. And so we've actually had one of the engineers on my team actually went through the Connect program, and her background is, non-traditional CS. And it's been great having her on the team. So I think there are definitely opportunities to look for.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. And also thank you, Rachel, for dropping the Connect article there from our Medium page. And just to kind of to elaborate on what Jenny shared, we just hired our second cohort of apprentices for this year. And we're really excited for them to get started. They kick off May 21st, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but happy to connect directly and share more insight on what the Connect program is. Any other questions?
Checking to see if there's any hand raisers too.
No hand raisers. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the official. So I'm the new tech. My name is Sarah, just to give myself a quick little introduction so you're not like, what's going on? So I just wanted to give everybody in the audience a chance to know that, you know, I'll be stopping the recording. We have another 15 minutes. So if there was any questions that you felt you didn't want to have while recording, please feel free.